Hey there friends, welcome to the video. I hope you are doing really good today. And in this video, I'm going to talk about DPDR and memory issues. And it really is quite a common symptom when it comes to dealing with anxiety and dealing with DPDR. And quite a number of you have asked me about it and what to do about it. And in this video, I'm going to explain what is going on here and also some things that you can do to help yourself get out of this. And for anyone who is new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Dan and I help people overcome their DPDR and anxious thoughts through coaching. And if you are a subscriber, then welcome back. So there's two sort of things which is going on with the memory issues that people have. And the first one is that people say that they can't remember something sort of in the short term. And also another one is that people feel that if they've done something, a couple of hours after that, it might feel like they did it a week ago or yesterday or a month ago. You know, it might sort of feel quite far off in the distance. So there's these two memory issues. And so I guess the first thing here is that it's worth remembering that if you're focused on the anxiety and the DPDR and everything that is going wrong, and all the symptoms you have, then you are gonna pick this up a lot more. If you weren't in the anxiety cycle, then you'd just look upon it as, oh, that's weird. I can't remember what I was doing. Okay, I'll just keep going and maybe it'll come back to me. And not often that it does. But because you're in the cycle and you're so focused on looking at all this stuff, checking if it's okay, checking if you're back to normal again, then even the tiniest little variation, you're gonna blow that up to something that is bigger than what it is, and you're gonna notice it, and you're gonna have a strong confirmation bias towards that. Now, what do I actually mean by confirmation bias? Well, it's where you look for things to confirm what you already believe. Okay, and this happens all throughout life with everything. And so how it might be particularly affecting you is that you've got a bias towards picking up the things which are going wrong. I'm sure that as you are going through this right now, you have, because of that bias towards the negative and the things which don't seem quite right to you, you're actually blocking out all the things which are going right and the things that you are remembering. For example, you're not necessarily sitting there going, oh yeah, I've got to cook dinner, and then half an hour later you're cooking dinner and you go, oh, that's great, I remembered to cook dinner. You know, or, oh, I've got to go to work. Oh, that's great. I remembered to get up and to have breakfast and to go to work. You know, you're not counting all the hundreds of times that you do remember something. You're just counting the one or two times that you don't. And that's totally fine because that's where you are right now. And the thing with confirmation bias is that it takes time to get into that state of that bias. And so it means it's habitual, so you've got a habit of doing it. So all you've got to do is really look at it as a habit, and so you can change the habit. So let's get to actually what is happening right now. So when you are nervous or anxious or sad or depressed or super excited or basically any type of strong emotion, other things do get nullified a bit. You know, they do get muffled down a little bit. And this is pretty much what is going on with you right now, in that your brain is so focused on what is happening and perhaps wanting to get out of this and wondering what's going on, that that's where it's actually putting its focus and that's where it's using up its energy. So, you know, that's why all the symptoms that come along with DPDR can feel so horrible, especially the cognitive ones, because you sort of say to yourself, well, I was able to do this and I was able to do that and I was able to remember everything and I was totally fine, and all the other things that you tell yourself. Now, I've got to ask a question here. Is it any wonder that perhaps you're forgetting things a little bit more often if your brain is thinking so much about other stuff? And so, as an example, let's say that you're really angry. For whatever reason, you're just super angry. When you're in that state, does your brain have the mental capacity to think about the really great things that happened that day? No, it doesn't. Anger is an emotion. Emotion is bought in the subconscious, and the subconscious is running the show. And it also can be said as well for the sort of opposite with positive emotions. If you had an amazing day and you feel really good and you're really proud of yourself, are you going to sit there and go, oh God, I had a rubbish day today, let's think about all the things that went wrong. No, you're not, because you've got an emotional bias towards the positive. And so that's what's happening there. So the same can happen between the positive and the negative. And the interesting thing here, right, is that this sort of cloudedness or this sort of concentration on one thing is what is sort of taking the mental real estate, which is taking away from remembering stuff. And so a similar thing is also happening when it feels like that something you just did 10 minutes ago actually feels like you did it a week ago. Essentially, it's just a symptom. It's just your brain has things which it considers more important right now, and so the other stuff sort of gets left behind. And so what are some things that you can do about this? Well, the first thing that you can realize is that they are just symptoms. You haven't got brain damage, you haven't lost your memory, like all those horrible things which are probably going through your mind, none of them are true. Now, it is really important at this point to mention that if you are unsure and if you are really worried, then it's always best to go and see a doctor, and they are going to be able to tell you if it is something physical. But if you've already been to the doctor and they're basically like, yep, you've got a clean bill of health, then you should believe them, just put a line under that, and then just say, okay, this is anxiety. And so once you start to deal with the anxiety and process the stress, the anxiety, then you are going to slowly start to come out of this. And just with anything, once you sort of lift off the root cause and process all that, then all the symptoms are just going to lift by themselves. And I know this from my own personal experience of having been through this myself, where I did have memory issues and it completely sucked. The fact that I could do something and then an hour later it felt like I did it a week ago. I could still think back to all the specific details. I'm like, yeah, I did this and this and this and this and this. But sort of the feeling of it, the feeling of the memory felt like a long time ago, and it was super annoying. And so with these memory issues, just like any symptom of anxiety, of which DPDR is a symptom within itself, then once you start to process this, then it will start to lift. And I promise you that you can do it. No matter how long you've had it, and no matter how bad you think it is, and no matter how hopeless you think the situation is, you are able to overcome this. And you might be wondering, well, how do I actually do that? And the best way is to process it all. And the best and quickest way to process it all is to talk to somebody. Because often, when we try and figure out things ourselves, we don't actually know perhaps the things that we're doing right or the things that we're doing wrong, or certainly some of the ways that we're thinking. And so if I was to say to you something like, well, hey, you've got a pretty big bias towards the negative right now, you might not have actually necessarily considered that. You might have just thought, oh, well, this is just how I am, or this is just my new normal now. It's your new normal if you make it your new normal. And what I mean by that is that recovery comes through changing your mindset. And I'm not talking about just thinking positive, because that could be seen as denial. You can't just go, oh, my life is awful and I had the worst day today, but let's just think positive and everything will be okay. Eventually, everything will be okay. And thinking positive, or how I like to say it, thinking more realistic, is definitely a ticket, fast track ticket to get you onto the road to recovery. And then once you are, sort of changing those unhelpful thoughts, challenging those limiting beliefs you've got, recognizing the biases, recognizing what's going on with you and how you're thinking, then you untangle all this mess. You get to realize that your thinking's been a little bit skew off. It's been a little bit towards the negative and the doom and gloom and all that. And we want to shift it more this way. Preferably just sort of in the middle, where it's just realistic. If things are good, then they're good. If things are bad, then they're bad. You know, like sometimes things are just bad. There's no other way of looking at it. But I guarantee, and I'm willing to take a bet that right now, a lot of the things that you think are bad, you're just telling yourself that they're bad. And the more you tell yourself that they're bad, the more you're going to believe it. And so the worse things are going to get. That negative bias is just going to get stronger. And so things are just bad and bad and bad and bad and bad. But the good news is that you can turn that around and you can reverse it. So things can start getting better and better and better and better and better. And once you start to get on that upward shift, on that upward move, then, you know, it's an upward move, but, you know, things are kind of downhill from there in terms of ease. Okay, so, you know, like you can roll down the hill really easily once you've sort of pushed up to the top and you've gotten to the top, and you're just like, all right, cool, I've still got to steer, I've still got to make sure I'm doing the right thing, I've still got to make sure that I don't get off and start to climb back up it again by having these other negative thoughts and, oh, what if, and, you know, it's not fair, and I wish, all that stuff is pushing you up the hill. So you want to get back down. And the best way to do that is to chat to someone. It's as simple as that. The best way to get through it is to chat to someone, because they are going to be able to point out all these things to you. And if you do want to chat to me, you know, then just book a free discovery call and we'll have a chat about coaching and how it can help you and how it all works and stuff like that. Or you can go and see somebody else. Or even if you don't want to see somebody, if you think that, yeah, you know, I've got this by myself, then that's amazing and total power to you for doing that. Just try and do your best to recognize what's going on in your mind and to sort of self-coach, I guess, or you know, self sort of get through this, and you know, you are eventually going to achieve the same results if you are doing it in an effective and a proactive way. So my friends, I really hope that this video has helped you, and if you do want to reach out to me, the links are in the description and also in a pinned comment, and you have an amazing day, and until next time, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.